Hi everyone, this is Nishra from Nish Online Interior Design, Paint Color Consultation and Home Decor Content Writing. Today we are going to talk about a topic which is very common amongst the homeowners who are looking to paint their homes and especially the ceilings. And one of this very popular question is, what are the best white ceiling paint colors? Well, this is one very common question that I'm often asked by my clients and the homeowners otherwise who are looking to paint their walls as well as the ceilings. So in real, it truly depends on your color palette and the color saturation of your palette that helps me determine the best white paint color for your ceiling. But let me tell you, the story doesn't end here. There are endless options of paint colors for your ceiling. Let's say blues, teals, greens, reds, blush, grey, black. And trust me, they equally look fabulous. But the question is that you can't be using these paint colors in every space. You can't be painting your ceilings in these above mentioned colors because it may pertain to every interior design style and it may or may not match your interior design style, the existing architectural elements or even your compass direction. So unless you're actually looking to paint your walls in a pure white color and a ceiling in a dramatic and bold paint color, I would highly recommend that you choose a simple, sleek and versatile paint color category with something like whites, which will never disappoint you. A white ceiling is one of the most popular, seamless, versatile and cohesive option for any space. If you're looking to paint your walls in a specific paint color, I would highly recommend that you choose a specific shade of white that best complements the paint color. But when it comes to choosing the best white paint color, it can be quite intimidating and challenging because let's face it, Sherwin, Benjamin Moore, Behr, they have a ton of white paint colors on the swatch. Well, I must say Sherwin-Williams is filled with neutral whites, warm whites, cool whites, and the same goes for Benjamin Moore as well as Behr. So which white paint color is actually the best one for your home? So in general, whites are one of the best paint colors to go on your ceiling. They're light, neutral and airy and will always make your space feel calm, soothing and complementary to whatever architecture elements you have in the space as well as your decorative elements such as your furniture, your carpets, the materials, the textures, etc. etc. And when choosing the best white paint color, I would highly recommend that you choose the whitest of the white or the one that is the most neutral option, unless you have a very cool toned color palette or a very warm toned color palette in which the white paint color for your ceiling may vary. Moreover, the white paint color on your ceiling also tends to make your space feel much higher and larger. So if you're dealing with small square footage, I would highly recommend that you specifically paint your ceiling in a pure white color, which will further make your space look much enhanced and airy. On the other hand, if you have lower ceilings in your room, again the same reason, you have to choose your ceiling in a white paint color so your room tends to look much taller than it originally is. Another major reason of choosing a white paint color for your ceiling is that it can easily disappear when looking at the larger picture and actually tend to create a focus on all your wall decoratives, your furniture, your carpet, which is actually at an eye level. So if you paint your ceilings in a white paint color and you tend to paint your walls in an accent color and you probably have a couple of artworks out there, you have some fancy furniture, a fancy carpet, so a white ceiling will help draw the attention at an eye level and give your room a sense of focus and drama. On the other hand, in various interior design styles, let's say something like Art Deco or Parisian, it's recommended that you choose a bold and dramatic color on your ceiling so that all the attention goes on your ceiling, especially if it's embellished with, let's say, some fancy chandeliers, maybe some dramatic moldings, etc., etc. Now that we've discussed the do's and don'ts, let's start with the 6 important elements that you need to consider before choosing a ceiling paint color. So, number 1, compass directions. Well, compass directions is a very important factor when choosing the best ceiling paint color for your space. Let's say if you have a north or an east facing room, you know that the incoming light is quite grey and blue. So if you're already using a very grey base or blue base white paint color on the ceiling, it may further tend to make the space look dingy or maybe very cold and dreary. So here is where you have to use a neutral color to neutralize the warmth as well as the cool in the room. On the other hand, the south and west facing rooms tend to receive a lot of warmth throughout the day, and it may also end up making your neutral white paint color appear much yellow. So here is where you can slightly experiment with your white paint color and choose a white paint color that maybe has a slightest touch of grey to further neutralize the incoming warmth with the cool of the paint color. But let me tell you, it solely doesn't depend on this factor, and you may also need to consider your existing architectural elements and other following factors that I'm going to be talking about before just considering the compass direction. So, number 2, color palette saturation and your interior design style. So whenever a homeowner questions me about choosing the best white paint color for their ceiling, I'd first like to discuss their interior design style and the color palette saturation of their room. For instance, if my client's interior design style is, let's say, well, something cool and calm like Scandinavian, then I recommend a cool tone white paint color, well, something like Sherwin Extra White. On the other hand, if the interior design style pertains more to the warmer end of the scale, well, something like modern farmhouse or bohemian, which has a lot of raw, earthy tones, then I recommend something like Sherwin-Williams Alabaster or even Sherwin-Williams Pure White in such situations. So you must keep a note of this. If you have a cooler tone color palette, meaning if you majorly have cool whites, greys, blues and greens and purples in your home, you must choose a cool tone white color or a neutral color, which is a no-fail solution in such situations. On the other hand, for your warmer tone color palette, let's say you have tons and tons of earthy paint colors in your home. Let's say you have burnt orange, you have shades of rust, you have shades of warm sage greens. In that case, I highly recommend that you choose a neutral or a slightly warmer white paint color. Number 3, view from your window. So right when you choose that best ceiling paint color for your room, it's important to look through that window and see what's happening out there. Let's say if you have a large front lawn or a back lawn, you must expect the white paint color on your ceiling to slightly reflect a tinge of green. And that is why I highly recommend, especially in the rooms that face lush greenery, you must choose a neutral white color over a white paint color that already has green, blue, purple undertones so that your room looks much cohesive and versatile. So the next most important element is your existing architectural elements. So right when you're about to paint your ceiling in a specific white or otherwise paint color, it's important that you consider what's already existing in the room. Let's say you have an existing fireplace, or maybe you have a natural stone finish, or maybe some ample wooden textures in the form of exposed beams, floating shelves and your furniture. It's important that you consider such permanent features of your room before choosing a specific white paint color for your ceiling. Let's say your fireplace has a warmer toned natural stone cladding, and maybe there are some warm wooden textures on your floor as well as your beams. It's highly recommended that in such cases you go for a certain white paint color that complements your existing elements, which of course should be neutral or warm white. Now the next most important element is the saturation of your artificial light. I know the saturation of the natural light depends on the compass direction of your room, but it's equally important to consider your saturation for the artificial light. So if you already have an existing setup and you already have existing furniture, your lighting fixtures, the permanent elements, and you're just looking to paint the walls and ceiling, in that case you must consider the saturation of your light bulbs. So it could either be cool white, warm yellow, cool yellow and neutral white. In this situation, if you already have, let's say, a lot of warmth through bulbs in the room, you must choose a slightly cooler tone or neutral white paint color, and vice versa. And the last element that's important is your furniture. So if you already have an existing furniture in the room that you intend to use for a longer run, it's important that you consider the tones of your furniture before choosing that best ceiling paint color for your space. Now that we've discussed the do's and don'ts and the 6 elements that are important to consider before choosing a ceiling paint color, it's time that we discuss the 6 best Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore paint colors that can complement your space. And the first one is Sherwin-Williams Pure White. Sherwin-Williams Pure White is my absolute favorite and go-to white paint color for the ceiling. It's not a very clean and crisp, stark white paint color, but rather has a tinge of warmth to play versatile with any color palette. Yes, this best white ceiling paint is a never-fail solution. Even though Sherwin-Williams Pure White falls on the warmer end of the scale, it doesn't necessarily have any yellow or pink undertones, which makes it a win-win situation. So I highly recommend that you always consider it as a safe ceiling color option for the warmer, neutral or cool toned color palettes. This is also one of the most popular ceiling colors that will blend with the warm wooden tones, your shades of beiges, taupes, warm greys, cool greys, grays and even yellows. The next option is Sherwin-Williams Extra White. Sherwin-Williams Extra White is a go-to white ceiling paint color for the cool tone palettes. Unlike Sherwin-Williams Pure White, this cool white paint has a tinge of blue and grey to it, thus the perfect cooler looking white paint for the ceiling. When viewed at a smaller scale, this color will showcase a deep cool and icy blue touch to it. However, on a bigger picture, this white ceiling paint will appear slightly flat with just a hint of grey. You can best choose this white ceiling color with deep icy blues, greys, cool greens and any other cool tone paint on the walls. Note that it may reflect a deep grey touch, so good enough to make your space feel cool, calm, crisp and icy. You must remember to avoid this paint color when you already have existing warmer tones in your room. The next option is Sherwin-Williams High Reflective White. Sherwin-Williams High Reflective White is the whitest white that's pure, clean, crisp and brightest white. If you ask me, this is my number one choice for any color palette, whether cool or warm. However, this paint color has the potential to look very stark and clean at all times. Unlike Sherwin-Williams Pure White paint, which works best for warmer palette, and Sherwin-Williams Extra White, which works the best for cool tone color palettes, Sherwin-Williams High Reflective White is the versatile of them all and complements any color palette. It doesn't have any notable cool or warm undertones, hence an easy best white paint color for any ceiling. And since the LRV is 93, we definitely know that this is the lightest and the brightest of all the Sherwin-Williams white paint colors. Now that we've talked about the 3 most important white paint colors from the Sherwin-Williams category, I might not just want you to restrict to these 3, Sherwin-Williams Pure White, Extra White and High Reflective White, but you can also consider paint colors like Sherwin-Williams Snowbound or Sherwin-Williams Alabaster, because they can equally make your space look cool, crisp or warm and earthy. So my next choice of Benjamin Moore white paint color is Benjamin Moore Chantilly Lace. Benjamin Moore Chantilly Lace is a clean and bright white paint color that makes your ceiling look too white and crisp. It's the Benjamin Moore whitest white paint color for the ceiling that makes a great option for any color palette. However, according to me, I feel that this color has a tinge of cool blue to it, which can be observed if you compare it against a swatch of Sherwin high reflective white. Hence, for the cool tone color palette, this is one of the best white ceiling paint colors to choose from. And since this white paint color is quite neutral, this is my number one color to go from Benjamin Moore category. The next to go color is Benjamin Moore Decorator's White. Benjamin Moore Decorator's White is a cool tone white ceiling paint color that has a tinge of grey to it. This cool and calm paint can absolutely be considered for the cool tone palettes with majorly blue, grey, green reigning. Indeed, if you want to make your space look brighter, cooler, airier and larger, this is the best white paint color for your ceilings. Especially for Scandinavian and coastal interior design styles, the ceiling would definitely work the best. And my last to go color is Benjamin Moore Simply White. Benjamin Moore Simply White is a warmer tone white paint color for the ceiling that makes a great equivalent to Sherwin-Williams Pure White. This color can be used on the trims, cabinets as well as the ceilings to add a touch of warmth and can sometimes reflect a deep yellow undertone. This color has an LRV of 91.7, hence too bright and clean as compared to Benjamin Moore Decorator's White. Generally, Benjamin Moore Simply White can be best paired with warm wooden tones, creamy paint colors and ample softer linens. However, with Benjamin Moore Simply White, you have to be slightly careful since it has a tinge of yellow undertone to it. So it may end up altering the look of the adjacent paint color on your walls. Unless you have a very warm toned color palette, I wouldn't recommend Benjamin Moore Simply White on the ceilings. Lastly, homeowners often wonder which finish to go for on the ceilings. So let's say when you go to Benjamin Moore or Sherwin-Williams store, when you purchase that best paint color, the guys bound to ask you about the finish that you're going to choose. So in the case of ceilings, you must choose a matte or flat finish since it can easily hide the imperfections on your ceiling. So ceiling is an element which is very difficult and you cannot paint it every other day like the walls. So a matte or flat finish can help hide your imperfections and make your space ready for a longer run. So what are your thoughts on these 6 best Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore white paint colors for your ceiling? Are you looking to incorporate any? Well, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. And before we conclude, do remember to check out my website at www.nishthasadhana.com and my Etsy page just in case if you're looking for a pre-packaged color palette. I'll see you all next Monday. Bye.